What is up, everybody? Welcome back. We are coming off of a loaded slate of college football. It was a great weekend. Thank you so much for tuning in. Sam Fortney, I'm here with, as always, for college football, Ryan Przomski. Ryan, thank you for joining us today. Yeah, man, this was a wild weekend. We almost had some absurd upsets. We had one really absurd upset with
Yes.
NIU beating Notre Dame. I don't think anybody saw that coming. We had some other really good games, and good weekend for me. I didn't have to watch Florida State, and yet we still somehow managed to lose on our bye week with two recruits leaving. So can't catch a break over here. But yeah, a lot of action, a lot of storylines going around the college football landscape today, and I cannot wait to break it all down because we've got a lot to get into. So without further ado, let's get straight into this with the marquee game of the weekend between two presumably heavy hitters. I didn't think one of them was a heavy hitter, but Texas going to the Big House and taking Michigan down, the defending national champs. Texas comes away with that one, 31-12, behind a Quinn Ewers Heisman hopeful performance of 246 yards and 3 touchdowns. Texas looked great, man. They look like one of the 3 best teams in the country. I think them, Georgia, and Ohio State have clearly set themselves in a tier of their own right now in terms of this college football landscape. The 3 of them are just so much better than everybody else by the looks of it. And as far as Texas and Georgia go, they now have the ranked wins to pair with their great looks this early in the season. So yeah, I mean, Texas dominated. Michigan looked like a team that lost, almost every starter off their roster last year. It looked bleak. They really didn't look like they could get an offense moving. Davis Warren, a fine system QB, but not the game changer that you need if you want to be competing for national championships. They didn't really have any receiving threats outside of their tight end Colson Loveland. He goes for about 8 catches, 70 yards. Running game could never really get going. I mean, you got the cover of CFB 25, Donovan Edwards getting, 40 yards?
40 yards and 20
so
yards the week before. I mean,
right. So it's been a rough start for the run game. The offensive line doesn't look the same. The defense, Texas took a great approach and just kind of wore out Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham, and I got those 2 out of the game. Texas looked good, man, and they look good, but we already kind of expected that. The question I want to start with here, Ryan, is what is Michigan's ceiling now? I mean, before when we came into this year, I think most people kind of saw them as a 10-2, 9-3 team. Obviously, it's only 1 loss, so both of those records are still well within the realm of possibility. But when I pull up their schedule here, I mean, what does this, addition of a Michigan team look like going forward? What kind of schedule, what kind of season are they coming away with? I mean, you still have to play USC. Yes, it's at home, but you play USC still. You go to Washington, who, I mean, they don't look very good. It's a title rematch, but
still a road game.
At Illinois just had a great win this weekend over Kansas. They all of a sudden look like a competitive team. You host Oregon, who hasn't looked good, but then again, it's Oregon, Dan Lanning, that roster. We think they'll turn it around. At Indiana is a sneaky game. That team just put up 70 points. Even they look sneaky in their first year with Kurt Cignetti at the helm. And then, of course, you go to Ohio State. So, I mean, Ryan, when you look at the schedule, I see quite a few losses or potential losses here. How do you think they end the season?
I mean, I think they'll be bowl eligible. Like, I'm not going to go that crazy, but I don't think they're going to be – I don't think there's a shot they win the Big Ten.
No, I agree. I don't even think they sniffed the championship game personally.
No, I think maybe a 4-5 finish.
Yeah, I mean, it feels 8-4, 7-5-ish. I mean, I think right now they for sure lose to USC. I think they for sure lose to Ohio State and for sure lose to Oregon. So that already puts you at 4. So then can you win at Illinois and can you win at Indiana? I don't think Washington will really pose any threat, but these 2 teams look good early in the year, Illinois and Indiana. Can you win those 2? I don't know. I really think 8-4 is well within the realm of possibility right now.
Yeah, I think definitely. I'm not going to start saying Penn State's going to be in the final, but I can definitely confidently say Ohio State 100% I think will be in the final for the Big Ten no matter what, 1 or 2 seed.
Yeah.
Nebraska sneaky.
They look really good.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if we're getting into that later, but I mean, they beat the biggest they
beat prime time.
They beat prime time. Penn State, Oregon right now.
Shaky.
But those 2 at least are winning against shaky.
Right, they haven't lost yet.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Iowa, they already took a loss, but they're Iowa, you never know.
And it's not a Big Ten loss, so they're still undefeated in Big Ten play.
Yeah, the only team with a Big Ten loss right now is Maryland. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, It's just more so like Michigan looks terrible. Like
They
that,
do.
you would not think this team won the championship last year. I mean, then again, they did lose everybody,
Right.
but I mean, USC probably is going to go in there and smoke them too
The way USC looks, that's a real possibility because USC
in
looks
two
like a
weeks.
night and day different team than they were last year with this defensive improvement. I really don't know. And when we talk about teams like Nebraska and Iowa, you got to remember those teams got the good end of the Big Ten schedules. They don't really play a lot of the hard hitters. I think Iowa, they both play Ohio State, but Iowa doesn't play anybody else. They play each other, but Iowa doesn't play anybody else of the Big Three or the Big Four, Big Ten schools. Iowa only plays Ohio State. Nebraska really only plays Ohio State, maybe Penn State, but I'm pretty sure it's just Ohio State. So,
Just
oh,
Ohio State for Nebraska.
yeah, so both of those teams
I
really
mean, they
get
do
good.
play USC though. So
Right. Okay. True. So I don't know. So a lot of teams are kind of going to beat each other up right now. I mean,
that's also something with the
yeah,
SEC. I was looking at like
hmm
Georgia's schedule, for instance, right?
yeah.
Georgia has to play. Give me one sec. I'll pull this up.
I know they go to Texas.
Okay, so in 2 weeks they play at Bama,
hmm
and then they still play Texas, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. Right now, that's 4, 5, and 7. They're playing. Like that's crazy. Like
It is, and most of it's on the road too.
yeah, they're on the road for Bama, on the road for Texas, on the road for Ole Miss.
And look, we know their history with Ole Miss and Tennessee. Historically, those teams are just a notch below
Oh my God, no,
Georgia.
that's 4. What? Dude, they play 4 of the top 7, 3
Yeah,
on the road.
I
That's
know.
crazy. 4 of the top 7
I
they
think
play.
I think Texas. I honestly chalk that Texas game up to a loss right now. Just the way that I mean, Georgia looks amazing. We're
Yeah,
going to
Texas looks
Texas.
different.
Texas
Texas
looks
looks
good too.
different.
They
They
both
look
look
like the number
amazing.
1 team.
Yeah, give or take. I
I
mean,
know that they will never put them at number 1 ahead of Georgia. They jumped Ohio State, but they're not
well,
going to jump Georgia
they'll
unless Georgia loses.
right. Well, they'll when whoever wins that matchup, I'm sure will
Of
end up getting
course,
put at
but
number one.
yeah. I
Um,
think right now they're the number 1.
yeah, it's close. I mean, Georgia. They both have a good win. I think Georgia's win is a little more impressive than Texas, even though Texas is on the road. I think Clemson's a bit better than Michigan right now.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
both don't look the best, but
right. Both only,
I
but
think
then
Clemson
again,
could beat
so I
Michigan.
mean, Clemson just went and dropped 66 on App State this week and dropped 3 on Georgia, so it makes that win look a little better. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
Regardless, yeah, Georgia might end up losing that game, so that'll be interesting. SEC is going to beat each other up, but yeah, as far as this Big Ten goes, I mean, Texas definitely might look like the best team in the country, and I could totally see Michigan ending up in like 5 loss territory, maybe, probably in the probably 4, but that 5
Probably
is
8 and
really on
4.
the table
I'll
if
8 and 4.
Illinois or if Illinois or who's the other team that I said? If Illinois
Washington.
or Washington or Indiana has a good day that week. So yeah, that's gonna be an interesting one, and I really don't know, but I mean that was I got to talk about this huge upset because we have to talk about this. It's inexcusable that they do this year after year, but Notre Dame has somehow choked a game that they were expected to easily win and run away with in a year that they were supposed to easily qualify for the 12 team playoff, in a year that they were put as the number 5 ranking after going to Texas A&M, the quote unquote hardest place to play in America, winning on the road semi convincingly. And a week later, they're dropping a team to NIU at home. So I mean, I don't know how they do this year after year. It feels like the same recipe where you take in a really good quarterback from the portal, quarterback comes in and disappoints, team disappoints, recycle, and it's going to happen every year. I mean, they bring in the players, they have an impressive portal haul, they've stacked some recruiting classes, developed their guys really well, and yet still nothing. And the defense has done their part. I mean, it didn't look amazing on Saturday, and it didn't look amazing at A&M, but they still did their part. I mean, obviously, you held them to 16 points, and 3 of those 16 were on a last-second field goal. But no, NIU beats Notre Dame 16-14. Riley Leonard throws out a stinker. He goes 163 yards and 2 picks, no touchdowns.
He hasn't
And
thrown a touchdown this year.
hasn't thrown a touchdown this year.
Just want
I mean, Jeremiah Love is the star of that
to be
team right
noted.
now, the running back, and even he only goes for 11 carries, 79 yards. So, I mean, this team just looks in shambles right now. This is not the Notre Dame that we were expecting. It didn't look pretty against A&M, but we were like, hey, this is 2 really good teams going against
Yeah.
each other. You know, it's not supposed to look pretty. If anything, I'm impressed that they got a gritty on the road win. I
But
don't
I will
know
say,
what to make of this.
scoreboard watching, they won by 10. I mean, those 10 points came the last 2 minutes. Like,
I
like,
know, but yeah, but you
but hear
weren't
me out, hear me
expected to
out.
blow them out.
Of course. But what I'm more so saying is, we were like, oh my God, like
Hmm.
Texas A&M, like, dude, Texas A&M's quarterback had 100 yards and 2
Well,
picks,
that was
and
a
they
testament to
barely
the
beat that
defense.
team.
That was just a testament to how good that Notre Dame defense was in that game. I
And
mean,
how bad the Notre Dame offense was, I guess.
right? How
I
about
don't think
yeah?
it's more Texas A&M's defense, which, I mean, dude, if Texas A&M has a real defense, they will kill the Gators this week. They would
That
kill them.
yeah, and
Also, this
we're
is
both
also
praying that happens.
and not to get too far off topic,
No,
if
yeah,
that Texas A&M quarterback cannot perform against that trash Gators defense,
then you know he's not the
when's he
guy.
ever going to do
That's
it?
your marker right there.
Cam Ward
Because
had
you
10
saw the
seconds
potential.
to eat food behind the O line and just examine before he had to do anything. That Gators defense is terrible.
Yeah.
So
And you literally saw that Connor Weigman was capable of playing good because he was the highest graded quarterback in week 2. He had a great bounce back. They played not
that's
like
what
they
I'm
played
saying.
anybody crazy, but he showed that he's capable of it. So that's a real measuring stick for him. As far as Notre Dame goes, I mean, yeah, they throw a stinker. The fans are calling for Leonard to be benched. It comes out today that he's hurt in his non-throwing shoulder, but expects to play at Purdue. So it feels like they're already laying excuses groundwork early. I mean, this team is just a massive flop so far, and we're only 2 weeks into the year. They do this every year. If you remember, last year they got smoked by Louisville. The year before they lose to Marshall. It's something every
I mean,
year where
even
this
go
team,
back to when they get into the bowl games or they get
right,
into
and
an
yes,
important and they
and
get
even
smoked in the
historically
national
they play
championship.
the easy schedule, and they get to the championship game and lose. Now this year,
Not
it was
lose, get
right.
embarrassed,
They
get
get smacked,
throttled. Like it's Notre Dame's like tradition, I guess.
and now this year, um, you have an easy schedule relatively. We looked at this schedule like there was 3 hard games, and I'll pull it up. A&M, FSU, USC. FSU is not a hard game at all anymore. It should be a layup for you, but without Badger playing, nothing's a layup.
Yeah.
And no. Anyway, so we look. So you had at A&M and you win that. So now we think, hey, you're back. I mean, look at the rest of the schedule. You get Louisville at home. That's a good team. Maybe they'll cause you problems. Like I said, they beat you last year. At Georgia Tech doesn't look so hard anymore. Florida State doesn't look hard. At USC is your only hard game. All you had
That's
to
what
do
I'm
is
saying. All you had to
win
do
the
is just
games you're
get to
supposed
there
to.
and lose if needed.
Right. You were
Like
supposed to go 2-1 between the 3-game stretch of A&M,
Sam, we
Florida
were talking
State,
about them being
USC.
a lock for number 5 last week,
You were.
basically.
No, we
Like,
totally were. And yeah, you had to go 2-1 through that 3-game stretch, and you were gonna be fine. If you won all your other games, you go 11-1. You're totally making the playoffs. Now you go 11-1 with this glaring loss. I mean, I say all this to ask you, Ryan. Do you think they can still make the playoffs?
yes, only because the committee is in love with them. Not because they should, only because, the committee and how they feel, kind of like how they feel towards Alabama, and they obviously have favoritism towards
Right.
certain teams. But
Yeah.
I really hope USC or Louisville beats them, and then it kind of puts them at 2 losses, and then it's not really, oh, the committee can find a way to sneak them in. Just end them.
Yeah. Oh, and
If
yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think me personally, I don't know if they'll get in at 11-1. I think there's zero chance they get in at 10-2. I think probably at 11-1. It would be hard to justify keeping them out because it means they would have some good wins.
Sam, they put them at 17, and they ranked the team that beat them. All I'm saying is, if they only get that 1 loss, they're going to be in the top 10.
Yeah.
Just because of how the committee views them. Not that I think they're
Well,
the
I
10th
mean, if they're
best
not in
team
the
in
top
football.
10, they're number 11 because
Or,
group of five is gonna be
yeah,
full.
but
I mean, but
that's why
but do
I
you
have to
expect
root
them?
for
Do you
Louisville
expect
or
them to win
USC.
out after seeing that they're capable of losing
Yeah,
to a team like NIU?
yeah, I'm rooting
You
for
expect them to
Louisville
win
and
out?
USC. No.
Who do
I
you
don't
who do you
expect it, and I
think?
don't want them to.
Yeah. I don't want them to either, personally. I don't know. Louisville might catch. I'm not in love with Louisville. I think they've kind of stat padded themselves off 2 easy weeks, so we'll see them once
Yeah,
they
but I mean, this team just
start
lost to
conference.
NIU. Like Louisville
Yeah,
is better
no,
than
no, totally.
NIU. Oh,
Yeah, and so we'll see. I think USC could definitely get them. It looks a little better for Florida State though, in terms of Florida State potentially winning out the rest of the year and making something of this season.
yeah, because
Uh,
you guys play at Notre Dame.
at
So
Notre Dame, yep, and
who
that's my
knows
fun
who will
here.
be playing quarterback for either team at that point.
Hopefully
So
not DJU, and hopefully yes, Riley. I don't know
yeah,
Riley
keep,
Leonard. Riley Leonard. I was the first. I was calling it on this show 2 years ago before he had popped onto the national scene how good of a quarterback he was going to be, and like I always say, Michael can always attest to that. So I don't want Riley Leonard to be playing when I see him because
But Sam,
I think they're misusing him. I don't know if this is all on him. Maybe he's hurt. Maybe he's not. I don't know. I think they're misusing him because I've seen how good he can be on the big stage.
I understand that, but you also were the biggest DJU fan last year when he was at Oregon State. You love that guy. You
I
were his
did.
biggest South Florida supporter.
I look what he did to Oregon State. He had them competing for a outside shot at the Pac. I mean, not really outside. They were about a game away from being in the Pac-12 championship. If they had beaten, if they'd won that Washington game, I think they would have qualified for the Pac. So you never know. But anyways, yeah, I think DJU is getting a bit misdeveloped
Damian Martinez carried that. That's the cope I have to
in
go
the
with.
defense. So,
That's the
I don't know.
the
That
cope I have
Oregon
to
State
go
team
with.
was fun, but anyways, to move on after that huge upset, I still can barely get over that. But to move on to what was almost the second biggest upset of the day, Boise State keeping it close with Oregon, but Oregon ultimately pulls away at the end of the game. 37-34 for Oregon. Dylan Gabriel with another, on paper, impressive stat line, but for anybody who watched this game, Dylan Gabriel did not look all that impressive. He does go 18 for 21, 243 yards. Pretty much all three of those misses were the only times that he looked really down the field. I mean, he missed some big shots to Evan Stewart late in the game that could have put this game away, that he failed to make happen. Their running back, Jordan James, goes for over 100 yards. Evan Stewart goes for over 100 yards. Finally, his breakout game, it seems like. And then on the other side, Ashton Jeanty, Heisman doing Heisman things. He goes for 192.
Unfortunately, they'll never give it to a Power 5, a non or a G5.
Well, you know what? If it's gonna be anybody, it's gonna be this guy. So
Yeah.
we will see. But yeah, Jeanty does his thing. But are we buying that these Oregon Ducks can still compete for a title? I mean, you were not in the episode. Michael and I, when we did our playoff predictions, we both picked Oregon. We did a collab bracket, and both of us had Oregon winning. So are you buying that
You
this
still
Ducks
have those
team?
brackets by chance?
I do. I do still have those brackets.
Can we pull those up, bro?
We
I
can
just
definitely. Oh, it was not. Oh yeah, actually, it was made into a graphic. I'll put it on the screen for you guys.
I'm just curious of where that is right now.
I'll pull the bracket up so you guys can see this. This was our collaborative bracket that Michael and I made. Go check out that video if you haven't already. It was a great video. I know we really broke it down well at the time, but not exactly aging like fine wine from an at-large perspective. As far as those conference championships go, look pretty good on that standpoint. But from an at-large perspective, some blatant misses early on. I mean, obviously,
I'm
FSU.
shocked. Now, I haven't watched the video. I'm sure Michael was not the one that was saying that Miami would be in it.
No, we actually both said that Miami was going to win the conference.
Okay. Shocking.
We both agreed on that because
the Memphis could turn out to be if they beat FSU. So that one doesn't look terrible.
Memphis looks, and they have one of the best rosters in the G5. I think USF, Memphis, and Boise State, and Tulane. But I think Tulane's going to get hurt by having two losses, even though they're out of conference opponents. It's they're going to have two losses to Oklahoma and Kansas State.
They got screwed at the end by the refs on that one.
Yeah, I think if they had won that, they'd be clear.
Speaking of getting screwed by the refs, the Oregon game, the guy dropped the ball celebrating before that zone. They reviewed it, and then within 5 seconds said, "Good touchdown." That was Vegas made the call.
Yes, and that was nonsense. But anyway, so yeah, I don't know. I mean, when we look at that bracket, we both had Oregon winning. Do you think this team is still competing? I think they'll still get into the playoffs. I'm really not worried about that just because of who they play. Do you think they can still compete for a title, though, with the best of the best?
Not the way they're playing. Of course, I still think they can, but not right now. That's just not clicking. Something's not. I don't know what.
Are you buying or selling the Oregon stock here?
I'm selling.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd buy in because I've seen nothing that would make me excited. I was excited for Oregon before the season started, but it's just been kind of 2 weeks of just like, what's going on?
Mediocre. I think it has to be kind of like a coaching issue. Like they just can't get the. They're tweaking the system. I mean, this is a lot of new players. I mean, you're adding most of your weapons are all new and your quarterback's new. So I think they're still.
But a lot of teams are dealing with that.
No, totally.
FSU's dealing with that.
But which of those teams is looking good is what I'm saying. Miami. That's it. They're the only team.
But Miami, the only big change was quarterback.
I don't know. I mean, you bring in Damian Martinez as your running back because you lost all your other running backs. So you have a new starting running back, a new quarterback. I mean, Restrepo's there, but you're bringing guys like Sam Brown, the receiver. So it's not all new.
At
But
least
your
for us,
running back,
the line was consistent. Like we didn't really
right,
make
and
a
that's
lot of
huge too. That
changes.
I think Oregon's has been consistent too. That's not really their
Yeah,
problem. But Miami's kind of an anomaly. Other than that, all these other teams with new. I mean, look at Notre Dame, Riley Leonard struggling. UCF, KJ Jefferson had a good game the other day, struggled week 1. So all these teams that bring in new transfer quarterbacks, it's
yeah.
new.
Cam Ward, week 1 was the only one that really didn't like crap himself.
No, yeah, he had a good game. I mean, I think there's probably one or two others, but like, you really look all over the country. That's just been a common trend. So I think that's most of this issue, just working out kinks in the system. Um, but we have to see them get worked out on the field because they don't always get worked out. So I think that's going to be huge for Oregon. I would still buy their stock. Obviously, I wouldn't call them favorites to win the title right now. I don't think they're in that, like we said at the
No.
beginning of the episode, top 3 contenders group. But they'll get the chance to prove it.
Let me see what it is right now on Hard Rock Bet. What the
I think it's like
top.
plus 2,000 I saw earlier.
So right now the favorites for the
Or plus
national championship:
1,000.
Georgia, Ohio State, Texas. Oregon is still 4th,
What are their odds? Was it plus 1,000?
1100.
Yeah,
But
1100.
Georgia's plus 275, which is crazy.
I mean, they look good.
And Miami has the 8th odds.
Right.
The only teams in front of Miami, other than who I named, is Penn State. I think that's crazy.
I think
Penn
it's
State,
crazy,
Ole
yeah.
Miss, and Bama. Penn
I
State
think
ain't
they're
winning no
worried. Well,
title.
same thing with
Penn
Penn
State
State.
ain't winning no title. Drew Aller is not good.
I think they're kind of worried that Miami will suffer like that Notre Dame syndrome where they kind of play
Yeah.
a really easy schedule all year and then they kind of get surprised when they're playing a good team in the first round
Dude,
of
but
the
Penn
playoffs.
State,
Yeah, no, I don't agree with Penn State, but
Drew Aller, come on.
yeah. But no,
Chat.
so I would buy Oregon stocks too. I mean, it's at an all-time low right now, so if you're
Yeah,
gonna
that's
buy
what
it,
I'm
buy
saying.
it
It is
now.
at a low. If you do think they're going to turn it around, this would be the time.
And I got faith, man. I think Dylan Gabriel's too good of a quarterback. I think he's at the bare minimum top 10, if not top 5 quarterbacks in the country. Evan Stewart and Tez Johnson, that's as good of a duo as you're going to find in college football receiving core. It's supposed to be a good O-line. It's not playing like it, but it's supposed to be. And I trust Dan Lanning as a coach, so I really do think Oregon will turn it around there. But it'll definitely be something to keep your eye on. And Oregon State could give them a challenge, man. Oregon State's 2-0.
It's a rivalry game, no matter
It's a
how good or
rivalry.
bad.
Oregon State's going to come out with a vengeance because they're mad about the whole Pac-12 disbanding thing. But we spoke about, Florida and A&M and all that a second ago. Florida does come out and beat Samford. I don't really include this in here because we got to see DJ Lagway, and that's what makes this a storyline this early in the season. Lagway plays, looks great. And now that begs the question, who should be starting at quarterback for Florida Gators this Sunday?
I mean, Lagway did play against Miami and threw a pick. Just want to put that on there. But dude, their coach is so dumb, and he's already out of the door. You might as well keep playing Mertz until you get fired, because that's who you ran with this whole time, right? And Gator fans were like, "Oh, we're not even going to play Lagway this year," and all this, and Mertz is better than Ward, and But no, genuinely, I do think they'll play Mertz. I don't think they should. I
I
think
think they will
Mertz is
too. And I mean,
terrible.
they've already kind of come out and said that Mertz is the guy and they'll incorporate Lagway. But with a coach who's so bad at play calling and seemingly everything else a head coach does, do you really trust him to manage 2 quarterbacks?
No, that's so dumb. You're opening the door for the every week controversy, the every week questions, the every week, oh my God, what if one throws a pick? There's going to be a question. But we're all in our basement in the 6 foot till you hit water, Florida. So, I mean, dude, he's a moron. He's getting fired. Like Finbaum said, they already have fired him, basically. It's just when they announce it.
Right.
When are they going to actually pull the plug,
I mean, right, and because you say that, let's look at this. So I'm not even going to pull up their schedule because we all know how hard it is. We all know who they play. Texas A&M this weekend. If you lose that, you're 1-2. Is 6 wins even in the realm of possibility? If you lose, I mean, this is as must win as it gets.
6 wins is impossible. Win or lose today.
Well, if you win, you're already at 2, and you still play Mississippi State, and you still play FSU. It's 2 more. You still
Not
play
being FSU. I'm sorry. There's no bro.
I don't know if FSU's being anybody right now, and that's a lot.
It's like one of the last weeks, right?
The last week, yeah, before Army Navy.
Florida's not winning 6 games. They weren't winning 6 games.
Let me say this: with Graham Mertz, they're not winning 6 games. If they put DJ Lagway in, they could win 6 games. I genuinely believe if they put DJ that kid, he's a game changer. And look, I hate to admit this as an FSU fan, That's why I'm hoping Billy gets fired so he'll transfer and he'll get out of my crosshair because he's gonna ruin he's gonna ruin both of our lives, mostly mine because they play more for the next
Oh, we
2 to
play
3
we
years.
play next year. We
Yeah,
play
well, for the
them.
next 2 to 3 years, he's gonna ruin my life. So, by all means, I'm saying this as genuine as can be. If they put him in, if he puts them in, they will beat Texas A&M. They will beat Mississippi State. They will beat UCF. They will beat FSU. That's 5 wins right there, counting Samford. Now all you have to do is beat a pathetic LSU team, a really pathetic Kentucky team. You just split those two. Of those two, bad teams or not as good teams, LSU has potential to be good. Kentucky's not a good team. Win one of those 2 games and you're bowl eligible with DJ Lagway. I don't think that happens with Mertz. I think they can touch 5, maybe, probably not, probably 4 with Mertz. So I don't know, man. It's gonna be interesting. Lagway he's a beast, but
They're
if
not
I'm
winning
matching
6 games.
with Lagway, they are. I really
No.
think that. But
I think
as
right
far as
now Vegas odds on them still 4.5.
yeah, most likely, I'd say it's a good line
Let
to
me look
have it
what it
now.
is. Regular season wins, SEC, Florida Gators. It's -110 for both. Under and over 4.5 wins.
It's
Complete
even
pick
money.
'em.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, it's gonna be tough, man. It's really gonna hinge on who the quarterback is for me. As far as picking this weekend's game, I don't. We cover this stuff in best bets, but just because this is the Gators, it's a different. They're an exemption. I'm gonna pick with the assumption that Graham Mertz is starting. I'm gonna pick A&M to win this game. How are you feeling?
A&M. But if A&M's quarterback can't produce against,
Oh, this is so telling for A&M as far as the rest of their season goes.
yeah,
I love Mike Elko. You got to win this game.
yeah, this is a
Totally got to win this
pathetic
game.
Gators defense. The swamp is quiet. It's already drained, right? You just got to go in there and handle business. You're a big time SEC program. This should be nothing for you.
Yeah.
This is just another road game. You have the bigger stadium and the crazier crowd. This is nothing for you. So
Yeah, and look, I mean that's it for the Gators, honestly. As far as just real quick before we get into Sam's standings and the best bets, I don't even want to talk. I don't want to spend a whole segment on this because Colorado doesn't deserve a whole segment anymore. They're just not worthy of it. Nebraska wins 28-10. True or false? This is Deion's last year in Colorado.
yeah, well, I thought he was going to go to Dallas with Shador, but they signed Dak. So maybe he'll go to the Giants with replace the ball and Daniel Jones. So
I agree. I
yeah,
mean,
no.
I don't know if
Regardless, Deion's done, bro. We all knew that this was
yeah,
a 2-year experiment, and
I don't know if I
it's
agree
honestly
with
a
the
joke.
whole.
It's honestly a joke, and I love
No, yeah,
Shador and I love Travis Hunter.
I
Well,
love Travis Hunter.
I think
Respect him.
Shador. Let me rephrase. I don't love Shador like I love Travis Hunter.
Yeah,
I
I'm not
really
as
like
high on.
Travis Hunter.
I'm not on high Shador. I love Travis Hunter as much as I'm mad at him for flipping on FSU. FSU may be in the dumps. I'm still getting the last laugh on this one. Look how well, for as much as I am not at, I'm at odds with the FSU staff right now. The 2 people that I'm okay with is Alex Atkins, our offensive coordinator, because he's excused because he's been suspended this whole time, so none of this is his fault. And Pat Surtain Sr., my DB's coach. Look how well you would have been developed under Pat Surtain Sr. Look who he just put in the NFL. Both of our starting corners from last year went to the NFL. Derwin James, I don't know how he didn't really have anything to do with Derwin
But
James.
was
But
he on
anyway,
staff
keeping
yet?
it.
Because he left the Dolphins like a year and a
Pat
half
Surtain
ago.
Sr. has been on FSU staff, but
Okay, but he was employed by the Dolphins before.
yeah. But look what he just did with Renardo Green and Jerry and Jones. Both of them look great. Jerry had a great play for the Jaguars on Sunday against our Dolphins. But yeah,
Yeah.
look what you could have had, Travis. You could have been developed. You could have been actually, put to work in a successful winning environment. You would have had. I don't know. Look, we had Travis Hunter on our team last year. I don't know what happens, man. But
I will say though, Travis Hunter, he's a competitor and he wants to win, no
which is
matter.
why I feel bad that he's.
Shador, it's more about the
Um,
antics and.
I agree. So I agree with you though in your
Hunter
overall
will be a
point.
top 5 pick, no matter what.
I think no matter where he goes. I agree with the overall point though. I think this is Deion's last year there. With that being said, let's move
They're
to
not going
Sam
to fire him.
standings.
He's going to leave.
No, you think he's just gonna leave because the fans are gonna be sick
No
and
matter
tired of
they
him
could win
knocking.
2 games. Colorado would never fire him. You know how
But
much
no,
money he's making the University of Colorado?
because I know he's making the money. I think he's just gonna leave. Fans are gonna have it. They're gonna be over it if they go 3-9, and nothing ever changes. So we'll see what happens there. On to Sam standings for this week. Our favorite segment here on the channel, or at least mine. No bias there. Last week we had a pretty good list. I'll put it on the screen real quick. Last week's, but as for this week, we moved to. Yeah. As for this week, we had some changes. Obviously, we have to with Penn State not looking good, with Notre Dame losing. Um, there had to be changes made. But we look at Sam standings for this week, and I'm putting this on the screen too for you guys to see. Georgia stays at number 1. Ohio State comes in at 2. I leave Texas at 3. I was tempted to put them higher, but I wasn't high on Michigan originally coming into this year, so I don't take that win with as much credit as most people give it. But there's still, obviously, like I said, in the top 3 contenders in college football. Ole Miss at 4. I think people kind of skipped them over this week. They looked awesome again, but again didn't play anybody, so I kind of just got to leave them at 4. Tennessee looked awesome against an NC State I was really high on in the offseason. Tennessee just dominates them. It wasn't even close. Defense looks scary, and Nico did Nico things. I think he's going to be a stud. Already is a stud. I put Miami at 6. FAMU, it doesn't tell me anything. I'm just putting them there from last week, and I think they're a good roster. Missouri comes in at 7. They look good. They'll be tested this weekend against Boston College, so keep an eye out for that. Alabama at 8. I have to drop them after the debacle with USF, but I can't really drop them any further than this because I still think they're better than the 2 teams behind them. Utah at 9, the premier of the Big 12. Cam Rising got hurt, but it doesn't seem to be anything too serious. Kyle Whittingham, we love Kyle Whittingham here. Best coach in Big 12 and top 5 in the country. So Utah stays at 9, same old. And USC jumps in at 10. They just look good. I mean, they look like a defense that's been remade. Lincoln Riley has found his new guy in Miller Moss, who looks really good. Though the skill position players on USC look elite. So that is it for this. I mean, that's this week's same standings. Ryan, how are we feeling about this list?
I mean, I like it. I agree with Oregon not being there. I think Oregon should not be in the top 10.
Oregon and Penn State cannot be there.
I don't agree with Texas not being 2. I think they should be number 1, but
I couldn't put them number 1 ahead of Georgia. The number, yeah, and it's really flip them over Ohio State.
We'll find out very soon. They play each
we
other.
know who's 2 and who's 3. It doesn't really matter what order they're in. I think they're all about the same.
And I like you dropping Bama. I don't agree with the committee keeping Bama at 4 after a.
Yeah, that was.
I mean, if you just looked at the score, you'd be like, "Oh, they beat USF." But
we all know how close of a game that was in the last couple minutes. I mean.
Yeah, I mean.
So yeah, 3 people dropping out, 3 new ones in. Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Notre Dame, Oregon.
Notre Dame, get out of there.
Yeah, Notre Dame, Oregon, and Penn State all scramble, and USC. I don't even know who the other 2 new ones were. USC, Utah, and I couldn't even tell you the third new one. Tennessee was the third new one.
Yeah, I'll be very curious to see that Missouri ranked Boston College now game.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a blowout, supposedly. We'll see, but
I mean, Boston College ranked, they've been looking good.
They got a good quarterback, Bill O'Brien.
They killed their school.
So, Bill O'Brien's, they proven to be a decent coach.
Yeah.
But with that being said, we move on to best bets. This is week 2 best bets. So let's recap week 1 real quick because Ryan, buddy, we had an impressive outing. I am not gonna lie, and it was really close to being an amazing outing. For me personally, I was a heartbreaking last-second backdoor cover away from going perfect.
Texas, who did you in?
Texas minus 7.5 hits.
Yes.
Tulane plus 10
easily.
Hits. Yeah, Tulane plus 10 hit. And then
Tulane could have won. They could have
won. That was my upset alert, was Tulane or Kansas State. So I barely missed on that. But Arkansas plus 7.5. It looked so good the whole game. I was so ready to pounce on it. The second I saw a line, I was like, Oklahoma State is not built for the moment. Arkansas is going to pounce.
That was a great overtime game. I just want to put
And the overtime put it at 8 points. So on a heartbreaking backdoor cover, 39-31 was the final. Heartbreaking backdoor cover.
And that was only because, wasn't it in the second overtime and you have to go for 2? Or did they just go for 2?
I didn't actually catch the end of that game, but
I was watching the end of the game. It was second overtime. They went for 2.
I think Oklahoma State got the touchdown, went for 2, and then stopped Arkansas on defense. I think that's what it was.
Okay.
But
and then in like the second or third overtime, you have to start going for 2 no matter what. So
yeah. And then you went tragic. 2 for 3. 2 for 3. You went 2 for 3 also. Missed on your upset alert. Georgia Tech versus Syracuse over 62.5. It did not go over. It was at about 58.
But I did say that Georgia Tech usually chokes these games.
You did. That was a good call.
Yeah.
And then Oregon versus Boise State over 61.5. You got that one right. Yeah. And USF plus 31. That was 31 with too many points for a team that.
That's what I was saying. And they played so good against them last year. Like
that was a ridiculous.
Easy. Although it didn't look that easy based on the final score, but it was
No,
like a 7-point game the whole time.
yeah. So that was a good pick there. So you go 2 for 3, and then your upset alert was NC State beating Tennessee. That did not happen. You put a caveat in there. You said you also included Boise State over Oregon, and that one almost hit. That was your extra one that you threw in there. So we both go
Yeah,
2 for
NC
3.
State got slaughtered.
That
They
was bad.
got
I did not think it
slaughtered.
was gonna be that bad.
They got like
Um,
50 piece.
yeah. So we both go 2 for 3 on our regular best bets. Both go for
Yeah.
1 on the upset alert. But now for week 2, I'll reveal my picks first here. We start. I just talked about how Bama got too many points one way. I don't think they're getting enough points this week. Minus 16.5 against Wisconsin. We both know the starting quarterback of Wisconsin very well. Uh, and they just haven't looked good this year. I mean, they kept it relatively close with South Dakota last week, and it was ugly. I don't think this Wisconsin team is very good. I respect Luke Fickell. I don't know if this is just the job for him. I don't know if it's going to work here. So I think Bama comes in and covers this. They're a good team. They have an explosive offense. They should be a little healthier on the O-line this week, which was a big problem for them last week, was that they weren't healthy on their 2 tackle spots. Both are supposed to play. Next, we are riding the Tulane wagon again, plus 13.5 against Oklahoma. Same thing I said last week. This Tulane team is better than people give credit for. Oklahoma did not look that good against a bad Houston team. I think this could be closer than most people are expecting. And we finish it off with a UCF money line against TCU. It's only a 2.5 point spread, so I wasn't going to take points here. Just going to straight up take the UCF money line. Their first test against a real Big 12, a real Division I opponent. I guess Sam Houston is technically D1 now, but
Yeah.
their first Power 4 opponent of the year. This is their new test with their new quarterback, their new weapons, their new defense. Miami transfer Nigel Kelly, he looked pretty good on Saturday. But UCF, yeah, in their first test, I think they will prove that they are in the upper tier of the Big 12. I have them winning, taking that UCF money line. For my upset alert, I'm taking UNLV over Kansas. Just putting Kansas on upset alert. They just lost to a good. We don't know actually if this team in Illinois is good. They could be good, but they lose there. UNLV has been the best Group of 5 team so far record wise, but I mean, UNLV is a good sneaky team. They're coached well. They play well. They kept last week close. Or sorry, no, they didn't keep last. They look good. So yeah, I think UNLV could beat Kansas. That's on Friday. So those are my picks for this week. Ryan, what are you thinking here?
So I'm gonna stick with the top 25. For Miami and Ball State, the over it's 54.5. I'm gonna take the over on that. Ball State only has 1 game. It was a shootout with some bum school. So I mean, regardless, Miami probably would put up the 54. So I think over 54.5 for that. Not comfortable with the 36.5 point favorite just because we have no clue how they're gonna look, but
Right.
you know. Um, Oregon State plus 16 is currently minus 110 odd wise. I do like that. Oregon has not looked that great. I think a whole 2 touchdowns with 2 2-point conversions is interesting. And then honestly, I think Texas A&M minus 4. I think that's I really am confident that Florida is not them. Yeah, I mean that might be a little hater in me, but
I mean, it's valid though. We
it's
saw what the
valid.
line was for Miami. It was 2.5, and Miami goes out there and smokes them. So now A&M gets 4 points on the
And
road.
A&M's a big school. They're
Mhm.
SEC. Like this is their chance for that quarterback to wake up.
Yeah. And who are
Because
you feeling for your upset alert?
I think Boston College.
Over Missouri
That
and you're picking this game with Memphis and FSU sitting there on the board.
I think, dude, FSU if they lose that game, they're burning the stadium. There's no way they lose
Yeah, you're
again.
not wrong.
There's no way they lose again, right? Like
Yeah, you know what? I said that last week. There's no way we lose
you
to
did
Boston
say that
College,
last.
right?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. But I'm assuming FSU doesn't lose again. Even as an FSU hater, like I'm assuming they don't lose again. So
Yeah, we'll see. So
very
yeah, so
possible though. Very
just
possible.
to refresh, for me, I'm taking Bama minus 16.5, Tulane plus 13.5, and UCF money line. Ryan's taking Miami versus Ball State over 54.5. Oregon State plus 16.5 against Oregon, and Texas A&M minus 4 against UF. With that BC over Mizzo upset alert. Guys, that is all I have for you today. Thank you for tuning in. As always, remember to like the video, subscribe, and turn your notifications on. We're making the push for 200 subscribers. and we are almost there. So keep tuning in, keep showing your support. Ryan, thank you as always for taking the time out of your day to be here. And until next week, guys.